Good morning and welcome to Monday morning and another news headlines with me. Now, I just want to find out first of all if I can flip my camera. Yes, I can. Perfect. So that was just a little test. Good morning and welcome everybody, and welcome to another morning news headlines with me, Julie Ford. As I'm just waiting for everyone to join, yes, I have just tested my camera, flipping it backwards and forwards. That's important for one of the news articles that I'm going to talk about this morning. So let's get straight into the news headlines, shall we? So let's start with Landlord Today. Now, Landlord Today's headline is Mayor Sadiq Khan launches affordable rental and sales portal. So the Mayor of London has launched his own sales and rental portal. Now, this article goes on to say, controversial London Labour Mayor Sadiq Khan has launched an affordable property portal. Homes for Londoners will list properties described as living London rent, as well as properties for sale via shared ownership, discount schemes, and a service called Older Persons Shared Ownership. There's no real details about what each of these schemes are, by the way. Khan's publicist described it as a one-stop shop bringing affordable homes together to support Londoners. Whether buying or renting homes for Londoners serves as the central platform where users can search, compare and inquire about affordable properties. The portal lists homes from developers, housing associations, landlords and local authorities. Now, I thought, let's have a look at this portal. Let's see what it looks like. Now, this is where I'm just going to turn my camera around. So I'm just going to move you. And I'm just going to turn my camera around so that you can see what this site looks like. That's one of the listings. Now, yes, absolutely. That is Boris Johnson. You're absolutely right. That's the listing. It has pictures of Boris Johnson. I don't know who that guy is. Mary Berry, clearly in charge of something. And what looks like a family dinner. This listing goes on to say it's a one bedroom, one bathroom house, shared ownership. You need a gross annual income of 90,000. 90,000. And then it goes on to be a test. And I thought, oh, maybe that's just the first one on there. Test address, test address, test address, some street, some address, test address. It doesn't look as though they actually have any properties on there at the moment. So I thought that was quite interesting. Let's see how that pans out for the Mayor of London and making this portal. But I mean, I think it's a good idea in the fact that it's kind of putting everything in one place. And I like the fact that they're saying what minimum income you would need to be able to access a property. I think things like that need to be on property adverts, especially for renting, because it can be sometimes quite unclear what threshold is required. But I just think how interesting that the Mayor of London has gone on to do that himself. And yeah, there doesn't seem to actually be any properties on there that are clearly for sale or for rent. They all seem to be test properties. And when I actually put in the search engine London, Greater London, it brought up 7,186 listings, and I couldn't find one that was actually a listing that didn't have test listing written in it. So quantity over quality, maybe? Who knows? Anyway, just thought that was quite an interesting story to start the day with. So let's now move on to Property Industry Eye. This is about this. I suppose it's quite a sad story, really. This headline is High Debt Levels Cited in Collapse of Well-Established Estate Agent. North East estate agent Jane Foster Estates collapsed owing creditors more than $328,000, according to newly filed documents. Administrators were appointed last month after the business faced a number of financial difficulties. The sale of the agency was carried out by Begbie's Trainer. I assume they are resulting in the business being transferred to another property company. The agency, which previously operated 4 branches in Gosforth, High Heaton, Taymouth, now trades from a single office. At the time of administration, the firm employed 18 staff, down from 29 in its more recent accounts. Administrators said the majority of employees transferred to the new business, although it is not known how many redundancies were made. I mean, I think that's just really sad. Is that poor business management, that the company was in so much debt owed to its creditors? Or is this just a sign of how the industry is going, to be honest with you? It goes on to say that the other company, which was Denison's, acquired the business for $55,000, paid in 10 monthly instalments. That's not bad. Damn, I missed a trick there. Although the letting agents and property management side of the business traded profitably, the company began to experience financial difficulties as consequences of increased competition in the estate agency areas, particularly in the Taymouth area, where circa 25 agents operating in such a small location. Yeah, bigger boys, I suppose, came in, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, I thought, oh, what a sad story when someone's built a business up for so long. But yeah, sad one, that one. So staying with property industry, I don't know why I have to say it like that. This next headline is data security concerns leave estate agent behind in consumer trust. So this article goes on to say new research from Credus Technologies highlights a trust gap in the UK property sector, with only 35% of home buyers saying they trust the estate agent with their personal data, compared to 75% who trust law firms. The survey of 1,000 UK consumers identified misuse of data, which was around 77%, identified theft of data, 73%, and data breaches, 71%. The main concern when sharing personal information during property transactions, regulators was cited as leading factor influencing trust, with 81% of respondents more likely to trust regulated businesses and 57% citing adherence to ISO standards. The research also found that 69% of respondents would stop working with a company found to be in breach of compliance regulations. I mean, the thing with compliance regulations, it's been around an awful long time. It started with the Data Protection Act and then more recently with GDPR. And it still surprises me today when I'm working with letting agents. Now, I appreciate this story is about estate agents, but when I'm working with letting agents, the amount that don't know, they have to be registered with the ICO, which is the Information Commissioner's Office. And how they're supposed to process data, they're supposed to have a privacy policy. The privacy policy is supposed to be given to the tenant to explain how data will be used, why it's required, and when it will be destroyed. So it's interesting that the trust isn't really there at the moment. I'm not really surprised, I suppose. It is a unregulated industry, both estate agents and letting agents. And I've certainly seen in the industry that agencies seem more focused on how much money they can make rather than investing in their staff and delivering good training and therefore good customer service, which in itself would mean you wouldn't have to chase brand new leads every 5 minutes, because good customers will do the recommending for you and bring new leads in. So I'm always surprised when agencies don't invest in their staff, but I suppose it's just a sign of the times, isn't it? Maybe when ROPA comes in, which is the regulation of property agents, maybe we'll see more qualifications there, more investment in training. But until then, the wider general public don't seem to have much trust in estate agents or letting agents for that matter. So now I'm going to move on to a quirky little story in the Metro. I am a full-time house sitter. It saves me £12,000 a year on rent and bills. This caught my eye this morning. I thought, interesting. I could do that. I don't know if I could. If you're tired of eye-watering rents and constantly rising bills, becoming a full-time house sitter could be the answer to your problems. Back in 2022, Emma was looking for cheap accommodation ahead of a visit to London when she came across an app offering a range of options, completely free of charge. Realising she could stay in other people's homes while they were away in exchange to keep things in order, such as watering plants, taking out the bins, potentially looking after a pet, she thought she'd give it a go. From there on, she caught the house-sitting bug. And after deciding to take a year-round long trip, she travelled across UK and Europe from Vienna to Paris, Malta to Finland, all without forking out for hotels. Even better still, the 38-year-old who works remotely as a freelance writer and virtual assistant estimates that she saves around £12,000 a year, ditching the rat race of bills, rent or mortgage payments, and basically enjoying her nomadic lifestyle. The majority of my expenses are spent on fun things rather than overheads. I quite like that idea though. What do you think? Would you give up the rat race to go around living in other people's houses? The issue you've got is you can't have a lot of possessions. You know, you're not hiking your furniture around, because I'm assuming people live in furnished properties. You're only going to be there a few weeks or maybe a month or whatever. So it's quite nomadic. There's no sort of where I lay my hat is my home. I just thought it was really interesting. I mean, if it suits your lifestyle, that's amazing, isn't it? I quite like the idea of that. She went on to say that her highest expenses is food, with the monthly average of £195 eating at restaurants and on other groceries. I mean, couldn't you cook in the person's home? I don't see why that has to be so expensive. Elsewhere, Emma racked up an average £78 a month on non-essentials, such as fun stuff, like festival tickets, and then on non-essentials such as gifts for family and friends. Well, good for her. What do you think about that? That sounds like a really interesting, fun story, doesn't it, really? So now I'm moving on to Landlordzone. And this headline is "Benefit Fraud Clampdown Could Leave Landlords Out of Pocket." It's quite a dramatic headline. And it goes on to say, hundreds of landlords could see themselves out of pocket, as thousands of tenants could get housing element of their universal credit payments incorrectly suspended and stopped this year, as DWP ramps up investigation into fraud and overpayments, a benefit expert has warned. New legislation, which is the Public Authorities Fraud, Error and Recovery Act, means the Department of Work and Pensions now has a modern fraud prevention powers to directly access and take away money from bank accounts of claimants who have not repaid benefit overpayments, as well as accessing bank data to verify correct payments and detect fraud. So I think this really is because not a lot of people, that's a general sweeping statement. Some people on benefits don't declare how much savings they've got, how much they're actually earning, so like cash in hand, things like that. So obviously the benefit department know that's going on. They just need to find a way of stopping it. I don't agree with it. Obviously, if you're on benefits, it's because you need that support and you need that help, not because you need to be defrauding taxpayers out of their money just so that you can make some extra money on the side. DWP is also doubling the size of the team, with up to 3,000 extra staff set to conduct 8 million reviews in the next 2 years. I mean, that is a busy plan of action. Bill Irvine, who is basically the guru when it comes to universal credit, he runs the UC Advice and Advocacy Service, explains that UC claimants will face increased scrutiny, particularly those cases deemed high risk, such as HMO tenants, those in high-value rental areas, or those who may have made initial claims during COVID period when the usual validation process was suspended. Exactly. So there were quite possibly people that took advantage of COVID when you didn't have to do all the verifications that you would normally have done for universal credit or housing benefit. And chase the system. Problems often arise inadvertently, which DWP staff don't always appreciate. Payments can be stopped when DWP makes validation checks, especially when new information is provided, which include minor differences, such as if a landlord has used a business address in an application for a direct debit payment, or the tenancy agreement uses the home address. So there's a discrepancy in the two pieces of information. During the same period, an existing arrangement for direct payments will be cancelled, causing the build-up of rent arrears and basically requiring a fresh application. I mean, it's going to cause more problems than it solves, but I think in the long term, this is not a bad thing. DWP spokesperson says targeted case reviews have already saved the taxpayer £1 billion by blocking incorrect universal credit payments, and are set to save an additional 1.2 billion by 2031. The decision to pursue eviction proceedings is a private matter between landlord and tenant. We offer support to tenants experiencing rent arrears, including direct payments to landlords through alternative payment arrangements. It adds that while targeted review checks the accuracy of a UC claim, it can request further information from an individual, and the new act allows for requests to be of a relevant third party, so that could be from the landlord or the tenant themselves. Interesting. I wonder how that's going to work out. I mean, taking on an additional 3,000 staff, that's certainly going to be able to get the job done. But I hope what it does is actually target those that are committing benefit fraud, and it doesn't target the more vulnerable that may just not understand some of the things that they're filling out for universal credit, because universal credit is all online, or whether it just is going to be a blanket. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out, but I just thought that was really interesting that they've got this new power under this new act, and what they were going to do moving forward to recoup 1.2 billion. I mean, that will go something towards filling Rachel Reeves' black hole that she reckons is out there, won't it? So that's me done for the news headlines this morning. I've whipped through that really quick. I need to take a moment. A little gap between each one, I think. Anybody got any questions for me while we're still here? Be more than happy to answer any questions, whether it's related to the news stories that I have spoken about this morning, or if it's anything personal to you. I'm just going to scroll through the comments and just see if anybody has put a question that I have yet to see. I don't think so. I think I was quite good this morning. Nobody put a question that I've missed. No. Okay, so if no one's got any questions this morning, I will let you get on with the rest of your day. Join me back here tomorrow morning, 9 a.m, for another set of property news headlines. Thanks very much for joining.